All right. Hi, everyone. So my name is Ashley Templeton, and I am the Graduate Assistant for New Student and Family Programs here at Fort Hays State University. So all of the stuff that you see on Facebook and the emails and everything, that all comes from me. So if you get them on PAW newsletter, things like that, hello from there. That's me. So today we are doing our very first family webinar, and that webinar is from Stephen Hobson. He is the coordinator of student involvement for Fraternity and Sorority Life down in the Center for Student Involvement in the lower level of the union. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stephen. Let me grab his PowerPoint for y'all, and then we can get started. All right.
All right, so hi, I'm Stephen Hobson. As Ashley said, I oversee Fraternity and Sorority Life here at Fort Hays State University, and hopefully throughout this webinar, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about the organization that your student and child joined, as well as what the student can expect and kind of what you can expect from your child to go as they go throughout their time here. So we'll get started with that. Small technical difficulties. There we go. Awesome. Swell. So then let's get started. So we have 4 fraternities here on campus. We have Alpha Gamma Rho, Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Sigma Phi Epsilon, and Sigma Chi. So for Alpha Gamma Rho, it's an agricultural-based professional and social fraternity. They have no traditional pledging process. Once members are initiated, they get equal membership as any brother that has been there for 2, 3, 4 years. And so that's one of the interesting things about them. And their motto is to make better men. For Sigma Alpha Epsilon, their values are friendship, scholarship, and service. Their motto is to be true. Their new member process is called the True Gentleman Experience. And so when Sigma Alpha Epsilon offers someone a bid to join, they have 72 hours to initiate them. And then once they are initiated, they are given equal voice and membership as any other brother in the chapter. For Sigma Phi Epsilon, their values are virtue, diligence, and brotherly love. Their motto is building balanced men, and their new member process is called the Balanced Man Program. And it works similarly to AGRs and SAEs, to where once they're initiated, they are given equal membership as any of the other brothers. And so one of the interesting things about the Balanced Man Program is it's built to be a continuous process. So even after they are initiated and throughout their entire time here, there's always kind of these challenges that they are set up to kind of help them achieve and grow in various aspects. And then there's Sigma Chi, which is their values are friendship, justice, and learning. Their motto is, in this sign you shall conquer. And they have a 8-week pledging process, and then at the end of the 8 weeks, they are initiated and then given full voice and rights as any of the other members. So then on the other side, there are 4 sororities on campus. There is Alpha Sigma Alpha, Delta Zeta, Alpha Gamma Delta, and Sigma Sigma Sigma, sometimes called Tri Sigma. So for Alpha Sigma Alpha, their values are developing women of poise and purpose, and their motto is aspire, seek, and attain. So one of the really cool things is they're just coming back to campus this semester, so they just had their bid day, so they got all of their new women, which are then going to kind of refound the chapter here. And so that is also something that's really exciting about them. So if your child does, or your student does join Alpha Sigma Alpha, or did join Alpha Sigma Alpha, they are then a founding member of the organization here. Then we have Delta Zeta, whose values are scholarship, friendship, sisterhood, leadership, and service. One of the big philanthropies that they work with is the Starkey Hearing Foundation. And one of the interesting things about them is that they have a 100% involvement in other organizations. So every member is not only just a sorority woman, but they're also involved with something else on campus as well. And then for Alpha Gamma Delta, their motto is live with purpose, and their philanthropy is fighting hunger. One interesting thing about them is they have chapters both in America and some in Canada. So that's something interesting about them. And then for Sigma Sigma Sigma, or Tri Sigma, their values are faith, hope, love, wisdom, and power. Their motto is faithful unto death. And one of the main philanthropies they work with is the Sigma 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 Foundation. And all the sororities have new member education processes to where the new members kind of learn the history of their organization, kind of what it means to be a part of that organization, and how their values then play a role in that. So that's just a little bit of background on the chapters here. Now we're going to kind of jump into what your child can expect and what you can expect. So some of the benefits of joining a fraternity and sorority is that fraternity and sorority GPAs are traditionally higher than the all-campus GPA. And so that's true for Fort Hays State as well, that members of the fraternity and sorority community have a higher GPA than members that are not associated with the fraternity and sorority. One of the great benefits is it also opens students up to a giant networking opportunity, not just within themselves, but nationally. And so this can extend to not just the organization, but you always have that kind of commonality of, well, you were in a fraternity and sorority, I was also in a fraternity or sorority, and then you kind of share those experiences that way, which helps with networking. It also helps with personal and professional growth. So there'd be a lot of different conferences that your student is eligible to go to. A lot of the times they will get supplemental or finance, so it kind of lowers the cost or eliminates the costs for them to go as well, which is something great. It adds on to the networking opportunity as well as them gaining various amounts of different skill sets. It allows students to grow in their leadership skills, so they can take on leadership roles within their organization or within the larger community to kind of help get that experience. Being in a fraternity or sorority is one of the more higher up ways to grow that leadership skills, because you have so many different aspects and kind of moving parts, to where if your student really enjoys and is majoring in something with business, they could be the treasurer and oversee a couple $1,000 student budget that they can then use as experience as they go forward in their career. One of the other benefits is it connects you to a support system. So I always like to say that people join people. So when they join that chapter or that organization, they're joining people whose values and kind of beliefs are similar to theirs. And so you always have that support system of being able to talk to a fellow brother or fellow sister about anything that's going on in your life. So here are some of the things that your student can expect. There is a time commitment associated with being a fraternity and sorority. About the minimum time commitment is about 4 hours per week, and that goes to being in chapter meetings, being in new member education meetings, as well as if they are participating in Panhellenic or in the fraternity council meetings, as well as kind of things that come from my office as well. We have a very strict no hazing policy. It's not allowed, it's illegal in the state of Kansas. Fort Hays State University takes hazing very seriously, and we make every effort to eliminate it at all costs. And so we are very fortunate to where we don't have that culture here on campus, and I'm very proud of that fact, and I'm very proud of the students for taking that as seriously as they do and promoting that. There's also a commitment to community service and philanthropy. So each organization is required to complete 20 hours of community service a semester. And so every organization has a philanthropy or a service project that they partner with that they'll then help out with. As I mentioned before, in the case of Delta Zeta, they partner with the Starkey Hearing Foundation. Tri Sigma partners with the Sigma 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 Foundation. And so there's a bunch of different ways for them to kind of give back to the community as well. And so there is a financial aspect as well of joining a fraternity and sorority. Those are what's called dues. And they go towards things like leadership conferences. They'll get like a badge or a pin that signifies what chapter they're in. They go to social events, keeping up their houses, things like that. And so one of the things your students can expect is a transparent breakdown of what that money goes to. So that should be presented. The chapters then like present their budget to the rest of the members, saying like, this is the money we have, this is what it goes to, as well as when they're going through recruitment, they're also told this is the financial commitment, this is what your money goes to. So that way it kind of gives the student and anyone that wants to know peace of mind of like, well, I'm not just giving this money away, it's going to specific things that I'm then getting in return. So Then there's kind of the parent side of my student joined a fraternity and sorority. What happens now? The best thing to do is to ask questions, kind of interact with your student, ask them why they decided to join a fraternity and sorority, ask them which one they decided to join with, why they decided to join that one, what they hope to get out of that. All those kind of conversations can really help build an understanding and a relationship between the student and the parent of why your student made this choice and like what they hope to get out of it, as well as being able to then help you as the parent to get the student to reach those goals. The more kind of questions and interactive you can be with your student is preferred, because then you kind of get a better understanding of the organization, the values, and like how your child fits in that. One of the other things you could do is research the organization. So they're all national organizations spread across the entire country. So just doing a quick search of that organization's name, you could pull up their website. You can kind of learn more about them that way. That's also recommended. If you're able to, come to campus for some of the events to meet other members and other parents of that organization. So this weekend we have family weekend, so where there's going to be a large amount of parents and alumni that come back to campus. If you're able to, you can also join in on the festivities. You'll be able to meet other women or other men of the fraternity or sorority, as well as like other parents that are there, so you can start building that support and communication network. So that is all I have. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. My email is there if you have any specific questions. I try to be as transparent as I am legally allowed to be. You could also call the office phone number there if you wish to speak in person as well.
Okay, so I think we do have a few questions. One of the first questions is, can my student participate in other organizations on campus? This is going to be so much that they're going to be consumed with it and can't participate in other organizations.
Yes, so your child absolutely can. It's also encouraged. So one of the big things that not only being a fraternity and sorority teaches you, but kind of college teaches you, is time management skills. Students are expected to do a lot for their academics, kind of for their professional growth and things like that. So all the chapters, and my office included, are very flexible and very willing to work with students to accommodate that, because we want them to branch out to other organizations and kind of grow in a holistic way, not just a one-dimensional way. So helping students kind of develop and perfect their time management skills really allows and opens them up to not only striving and thriving in their fraternity or sorority, but striving and thriving in other organizations that they join as well.
Awesome. So who is in charge within each chapter? Is my student just going to be with a bunch of other students kind of running rampant, or is there some sort of structure within the chapters?
So each chapter has a executive council made up of a president, vice president, recruitment chair, a treasurer. Each chapter might have different names for those things, but those are kind of generally the big four that every chapter has. Some chapters might have more. And so those really give a guidance and vision and direction to the chapters, as well as to be able to answer any questions, concerns, or comments that a general member may have.
Perfect. So what are some of the long-term benefits of Greek life? How is it going to help my student in the future? Why would they do this?
So we touched on this a little bit, but as I mentioned, it helps academics. So students in a fraternity or sorority have a higher GPA than students not in a fraternity or sorority, as well as just the networking and the leadership aspects. So I'm originally from New Jersey, and I found out about Hays, Kansas, and Fort Hays State University because of my networking connections that I had through being a part of a fraternity. So that helped me land this job, and now I'm gainfully employed. So your students and your child is also capable of kind of doing things that way, to where you're open up to this giant network of people that have the commonality of also being in a fraternity or sorority. And there's a bunch of different support systems. There's a bunch of different kind of job programs that students can tap into to kind of connect with other people around the country, as well as going to conferences and meeting them. So that aspect, and then additionally from the networking aspect, just building up their leadership skills, because that's one of the most prevalently and sought after job requirements and expectations today, is just being able to facilitate, lead, and kind of take charge of and ownership of your job position and the duties that are assigned with it. So being able to I personally believe that if you're able to manage a fraternity or sorority of 20 plus other college students that are also incredibly busy and involved, then you're going to be pretty set off when you go off in after college and land a job to be able to manage a team or kind of a project in that way.
Awesome. So I think I only have one last question here written down. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type in and let us know in the chat. So the last question that I do have is, let me find it here real quick. So what are the big differences between these chapters? How is my student going to choose, or how did my student choose what chapter they were going to be in?
The best way I could answer that is with the notion that like people join people, and so each organization has different values that they hold true and what they really promote, and so those kind of start to fall in line with whatever your child's values are and kind of those aspects. So it might be something that a chapter or sorority fraternity is really involved with helping out with like the Special Olympics, and your child might have a very passionate cause about helping out supporting the Special Olympics, so they might be drawn to them that way. Or just meeting other members of that organization and they just kind of find common ground and they are kind of other like-minded people, so then they want to be associated with the organization that way. So the best way to kind of answer that is to talk to your child about why they decided to join the organization they did. And that will probably give you the clearest answer. But some of the main reasons are having just a mutual commonality of interests, ideals, and philosophies as the other men and women of the organization.
Awesome. So one thing that I know that can be interesting as a parent to hear about are the chapter houses. So maybe these parents, their students have come home and talked about these houses that we just have for these chapters. So can you talk a little bit about the housing that we have on campus or off?
Sure. So currently we have 8 organizations with Alpha Sigma Alpha coming back this fall. So they don't have their own house, but every other organization does have their own house. Currently 3 chapters have houses that are housed on campus. So Delta Zeta, Tri Sigma, and Sigma Phi Epsilon have houses that are on Fort Hays State University property, and so they're managed that way. The other remaining chapters have houses that are within walking distance of campus as well. And so some of the big benefits with that is you're living with, again, like your brothers, your sisters who are like-minded people. So you always have that instant support and camaraderie that you have just like living with a group of your best friends would. And so I think it's one of like the purest and most beneficial aspects of joining a fraternity and sorority of like, you just kind of, you get to live with them. So it's not so much like having these planned events as so much just kind of like seeing who's around in the house to then go watch a movie or go watch The Bachelor, or just kind of like go play video games with you. And so you're just kind of like always around these people that hold the same ideals as you and who like you want to be associated with. And so that's definitely one of the biggest benefits to living in the house.
Awesome. So do a lot of these houses have like an alcohol policy or things like that? Because some of these parents might be worried about that type of thing when their student is joining one of these organizations.
Sure. So that depends on the national rules of each organization. So the ones that are on campus, alcohol is not permitted in the house per Fort Hays State University rules. The ones that are off campus are governed by their national policies. So they might be what's called a dry house or a wet house. Dry meaning there's no alcohol allowed. Wet meaning there is a reasonable amount of alcohol allowed. And so we work with the chapters and each members on risk management, on making sure you're being safe, responsible in any decision that you make. And so that is kind of one of the ways that we really promote just taking personal accountability, making sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're taking care of the others around you.
Okay. So just one last question from me, I guess. So you talked a little bit about these philanthropies that they have and how service is important to them. Can you explain kind of what a philanthropy is? And of course, you did say that each of them has their own philanthropy. So how does that impact their child's experience in this organization?
Sure. So philanthropy is just a charitable cause, either a cause or an organization that the fraternity or sorority associates themselves with. So as I said before, the examples of Delta Zeta associating with the Starkey Hearing Foundation, or Tri Sigma associating with the Sigma 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 Foundation, SIGEP, Sigma Phi Epsilon associates with Big Brothers Big Sisters, Sigma Chi associates with a charity and organization that helps to combat cancer and funds cancer research. And so Alpha Sigma Alpha partners with Girls on the Run. So each chapter has these philanthropies and charities that they align themselves with that help promote their values that they hold true. And so that's one of the big ways that members of fraternities and sororities help give back to their community, is by holding events or fundraising for these various philanthropies and charities to then help them grow and succeed as well as those charities and philanthropies will help out the chapter with kind of hosting these events or giving them recognition. So that's also one of the big benefits of joining, is that you can put on these giant events that have such a big and lasting impact. You could also be recognized for that. If the organization does something super outstanding, that's something that could be added to the resume, that you were part of an organization that helped raise $10,000 for this or that cause, or was able to impact this many people through this event. And so that's definitely one of the big draws and one of the big impacts that is kind of one of the most proudful to be about of joining fraternity or sorority.
Awesome. Well, do you have anything else to tell them about fraternity and sorority life?
So we have wrapped up what we call the formal recruitment process. And so hopefully you're all more knowledgeable about the organization your child has associated themselves with. Again, I encourage you to ask questions to your child and talk to them about why they decided to join that one, kind of what they hope to get out of that. Again, if you have any questions or comments, you can email me on the email on the screen or call the office at the phone number on the screen. Other than that, I hope to meet some of you if you do come to campus to kind of talk about more the benefits of being in a fraternity or sorority. But yeah, that's all I got.
Perfect. Well, so I guess I do just kind of want to say I was one of the founding members of Sigma 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 on campus 2.5 years ago. So that's super exciting, and I am an alumni now, but I've tried to still be very involved with my chapter and my sisters. So if you ever have any questions of any of us, we'll be more than happy to answer. There are also another couple of GAs in my cohort that were involved in fraternity and sorority life as well, and we love talking about it, of course. So we'll be more than happy. So if you have any questions at all, of course, Stephen's email is on the screen. My email is ampleton.se@fhsu.edu. So feel free to email that with any questions as well, and we can get you all hooked up. So thank you all so much for joining us. It's been a great first webinar, and I'm so excited. So next month, we also have a couple of webinars on career readiness, and they're kind of going to be divided between each level. So freshman, junior, and sophomore, and then senior as well. So feel free to tune into those, and we'll get some more information out soon. Thank you all again.